Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's an honor to be invited back here and to be in your presence. Always wonderful to bathe in the spirit and love of this community. I deeply appreciate your presence and the open doors. So much so that, as you said, we came to live here, so now we're neighbors. I was going to say Shabbat Shalom, but it's Sabbath, I guess, Sabbath Shalom. Since on Sunday it's a Christian tradition Sabbath. I was reflecting on that this morning a little bit about one of the sayings about when will Messiah return. I don't have an idea that Messiah will be a person who will return from somewhere, somehow, and waltz into the streets of Jerusalem on a white donkey or whatever the image is. I think we're called up to be that we are, each of us, called up to be that Messiah. In fact, in Jewish tradition, there is a saying that invites each of us to consider ourselves to be that Messiah person, which puts a lot of onus and responsibility on each of us and our behavior. So I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but at least that's what the tradition says. Sabbath Shalom. Shalom means peace, as we all know, but the root of that word also means wholeness and harmony. So may this Sabbath day bring wholeness for you and harmony in your life and in your world. Freedom, I guess you picked up on the theme for the day. It's been said many times in the last 17 minutes. And I was wondering, why specifically freedom as a theme for July 2nd, until it dawned on me that, this is 4th of July weekend. I'm a little slow sometimes. It just takes time for me to connect dots. So I want to talk about freedom. I want to talk about true freedom this morning. And I'm going to start kind of on a tangent and reel you back in, hopefully. I'm sure you have all seen that bumper sticker on cars that reads, "If you're not outraged, you're not paying attention." Yeah, I see some people nodding in the space. Maybe actually some of you have that bumper sticker on your car. Maybe somebody watching online may think, yeah, I have that bumper sticker. So you're not going to like what I'm about to say. I'm sorry. Every time I see that bumper sticker on the back of a car, if you're not outraged, you're not paying attention, I said to myself, how wrong this message really is. How terrible this message really is for all of us. I mean, if you are outraged, feel into the invitation of that word. If you are outraged, it's already putting me in a state of anger just by reading it, right? If you are outraged, it means that you are consumed by rage. Now, I'm asking all of us, is that the place you want to live from? Is that truly where the center of your being is? Is outrage a natural expression of your own heart? If you're outraged, you are consumed by your emotional states. And you are fundamentally rejecting the reality you live in. If you are outraged, you are in fact not free. You are enslaved to your own emotions. And that's where you live from. Now, if you are paying attention, however, as the bumper sticker would have it, if you're truly paying attention, it means that you are actually able to step back and see the bigger picture. If you're truly mindful, truly paying attention, you are able to contemplate actually the pros and the cons, the many sides of whatever issue is presented to you, without actually letting your emotions take over, without becoming enslaved by those impulses. When you are actually truly paying attention, you are no longer collapsed into that point of view that you have to defend against the world. And that point of view that you have to defend, that sense of always being on the defensive, in fact comes to cloud your vision of reality. If you are truly mindful, if you are truly paying attention, then you are taking in the world, your life, the moment, just as it is. Not as you wish it to be, not as your mind would conjure it to be, would prefer it to be, but just as it is. And if you act from that place, because true freedom is never to be found in the outer world. True freedom will never happen from the outside. In fact, if we're looking for freedom on the outside, all that we are going to get is more polarities, more animosity, more conflict. Why? Because of the famous sentence, I know everybody has read it somewhere at some point, that my freedom ends when yours begin. And so true freedom isn't an absolute for me against you. It is in fact a collaboration between us so that each of us can compromise from that absolute and engage in a relative acceptance of each other's freedoms. But you hear in what I'm saying that all external freedoms are only able to be relative. And the problem we are faced with in our world and in our society today is that we are pit against each other in trying to achieve our own absolute freedom. And if we are going to the absolute side of freedom, then all we're going to have is the rejections of all those who don't want my freedom to be respected. Hence, the society we live in today. Hence, our inability to find common ground, to find a shared sense of relative freedom. So acting from that place of mindfulness that I was just speaking about is the place that can help us build toward the future. Acting from outrage can only further polarize us, and actually, instead of building our future, is, as we see, destroying our future. I guess what I'm saying is that paying attention, and I love that expression in Hebrew, paying attention. It's one of the most beautiful expressions. In Hebrew, paying attention is lasim lev. And it literally means to place your heart, to put your heart into something. Lev in Hebrew is heart. Lasim is to place the heart. And so paying attention is an act of putting your heart in the moment, living from that heart space instead of the mind space. It's a beautiful expression that really truly conveys how we are to live moment to moment from the heart. So paying attention, putting your heart into each moment means that we are training ourselves to be just with what is in the moment. And that may be the key, in fact, to unlock a different way of being in the world, from a place that is more grounded, more centered. I mean, you can feel it in your heart right now. You can feel it in your body when I speak these words. That sense of groundedness, that opening to empathy. And when we act from that place, we free ourselves from the enslavement to our desires, our emotions, our points of views that we have turned into worshipped idols. I was talking this morning about the 10 plagues of Egypt. Everybody knows the story of the Exodus, especially Charlton Heston as Moses, and the movie The 10 Commandments. And since you can only really watch the first hour and a half, 2 hours, most of us know about the 10 plagues. It's such a long movie. There is a beautiful teaching from our rabbis that talks about the 10 plagues actually not being meant to dismantle Egypt as it was in order for the Israelites to be able to live into freedom. Because the story, again, doesn't happen on the outside. The story is about you and it's about me. Each of us is in Egypt. And Egypt is not a place somewhere. Egypt is within us. All of us are, in fact, like I just mentioned, enslaved to our minds, our desires, our emotions. We're really collapsed into those. They rule our lives. They rule our lives. And so the 10 plagues came to actually, and you can see in the way they're lined up, to destroy, to attack, and dismantle the gods of Egypt. The Nile, for example, was one of the gods of Egypt. And the first of the 10 plagues is blood in the Nile. The Nile is turned into blood, right? It's dismantling of one of the gods of Egypt. I'm not going to go through each of the plagues, but the 9th one is darkness. And the god of Egypt that is connected to darkness is Ra, the sun god. The last plague is the killing of the firstborn, and it's connecting to Pharaoh's son because pharaohs as well were seen as gods. So what does it say? Because if it's not about something on the outside, what does it say about me, about my own inner process toward leaving Egypt and moving into spaces of freedom? It says that each of us has created gods within our consciousness, idols that we are worshiping, about how things should be, how things ought to be. Our points of views have solidified, and so much solidified that we are unable to hear anybody else's point of view. We have made our thoughts into idols and into gods. And the divine is coming in and is trying, in order to free us, to dismantle all of those things we're so certain about. All the pictures we have painted, all the shoulds and oughts that we have surrounded our lives with. We are in Egypt. You and me, we are all in Egypt. We are all enslaved to those parts of selves. And in order to free ourselves from those places, the best way to free yourself from a prison is to know the map of the prison really well. If we are to free ourselves from this vicious, enslaving cycle of action-reaction, and move, instead of reaction, into a place of responding, right? From reacting to responding, do you feel the difference there? There is freedom in responding that doesn't exist in reacting. Reacting, we are acted upon. Responding, we have this spaciousness, this freedom that we have created that allows us to act from a different place, from the heart space. So if we are to free ourselves from this enslaving cycle of action-reaction, if freedom is really what we want, that's a big question we have to ask ourselves. Then we need the map of the prison. Now, I'm not a psychologist, and even I think if I was one, I would say that nobody can ever pretend to have mapped out the human psyche. So in very broad, simplistic, and rudimentary brush strokes, I would like to offer a basic exploration of all of our prisons. So let's imagine something happens. Anything, something happens. It could be anything. It could be what's happening right now in this moment. You having to, unfortunately, listen to me, for example. I mean, it's happening. Now, this moment, your experience in this moment is arising in your awareness. It is right here. You can appreciate it as it is coming into your own awareness. And as it is showing up in awareness, the mind steps in, and the mind cognizes this moment, recognizes this moment. Something has happened, the mind realizes. And so as something has happened, the mind steps in and starts to analyze the moment. And as it analyzes it, it compares it as well to another moment. You know, when you're on vacation and you go somewhere, and suddenly you're looking for the same things that you missed at home, right? Oh, I was in Paris, like they have McDonald's there. Wow, that's a great thing. Somebody was talking to me earlier about someone that had gone to Israel and sent them one picture of their Israel trip of a statue of Elvis. There is, in fact, outside of Jerusalem, a little gas station that has, as a kind of a bus stop to attract buses to come to their little gas station and obviously buy stuff. They built a statue of Elvis. And that's the one picture that person got from the entire trip in Israel. That's what I mean. The mind is always looking for something it already knows, that is familiar, that is shared, that is common. It's like a little place of home wherever you go. Familiarity. Because the mind immediately, at whatever moment, whatever experience is happening, the mind immediately goes, oh, is this good or is this bad? Do I like this or do I not like this? Do I dislike this? Do I like this? I mean, this talk that this rabbi is giving right now, do I like this? Do I not like this? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it better than the last time he was here and talked? Or is it not as good as last time they was here and talked? Don't know. I have to watch back on YouTube. So if the mind's evaluation comes back positive, the mind judges it and says, oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. And then what happens within each of us is like there's a craving. There's a craving that grows within you that comes and is imprinted in our psyche. Oh, I want more of that. That rabbi should really come back. Like, his talks, I really like it. Let's make sure that he's invited back to CSL. I want more of this. Yeah, I want more. This is good. I like it. That's what Facebook did. The most incredible thing that Facebook created in their platform is that little icon that says like or dislike. And that's how we got hooked. Because now somebody posts something and you can be empowered to say to the world, I like this. Or it's like, I don't like this, right? And so you feel empowered, you feel you're part of it, you feel you're connected, but what Facebook is doing is collecting data about you, about all your likes and dislikes, so he can feed you more of that and gets you hooked. But you on your own side is like, oh, I like it, click, feels good. Or no, I don't like it. Oh, that feels even better. Sometimes the darkness is more juicy than the other side of it. Anyways, the rabbi keeps on talking, and I don't know anymore if I like it. It's getting in a different place right now. But let's imagine that so far I'm liking it. What I want is I want to control that. I want that to last. I mean, it's too sad. There's only 7 more minutes. I wish he could talk for another hour. That would be great. And there's a part of you that's like, no, I would not like that. So your mind just switched already over there to the other side. But, I'm going to try to control this experience as much as I can to make it last as long as I can. That ice cream, I really want it to last as long as I can, to control my experience, to keep this craving going. So the first thing I'm going to do to control life and my experience, I'm going to call Monday morning the office at CSL and demand that this rabbi come back to talk more, because I want more. I want more. Now, if the evaluation comes back negative and the mind starts to say, no, that's bad, then an aversion is created within our psyche. And the mind goes, I want less. I want less of that. That ice cream just didn't taste good. I don't want it anymore. I don't want that relationship anymore. I want less. I want less of this. I want less. So I'm going to try, as I did before, I'm going to try to control my reality to make sure that less of that is happening. So I'm going to call CSL Monday morning. Anyway, everybody's calling on Monday morning. You guys are going to have he's going to ring off the hook. And I'm going to demand that this rabbi is never invited again, because that was bad. That was really, really bad. And I want less of that. I want to control that. I want to control my experience at Center for Spiritual Living, so I'm going to impose my dislike on everybody else. Do you notice what happens actually either way? What happens either way is our need, our yearning to control. We want to control when it's good. We want to control when it's bad. The problem is that either way, we're miserable. Right? I mean, we're miserable when we don't like something. That's obvious. But we're also miserable, ultimately, when we want to control the good things in our lives. Why? Gamze ya'avor, we say in Hebrew, this too shall pass. Everything that begins as an end. So however long you want to try to really milk that ice cream, ultimately it'll come to an end. And you'll be disappointed. And because you're going to be so disappointed because you were so good, you're going to make yourself miserable. Oh no, I'm miserable now. I wanted more of the rabbi. When is he coming back? Right? So either positive or negative, ultimately you suffer. Ultimately there is suffering. And that is true to all of us. That is universal. Universal. And in this process, our conditioning is impacted either way. And it then taints the way we meet our next experience. Because of this experience, this moment will impact a future moment in your life because of how you lived through it right now. And all of this that I just talked about takes place almost immediately, mostly unconsciously, in any single life event in your life. You had the green light, you wanted a red light. You wanted a red light, you wanted the green light. It's happening all the time. In fact, if you look back at all the decisions you've made in your life, I would venture to say that 99.9% of any single decision you've made in your life comes from either like or dislike. Want more, want less. Craving, aversions. I mean, look back. The clothes you're wearing right now, craving or aversion? Probably craving. Like, dislike. We think of ourselves as, thinkers and feelers, but we're really moved by powers that we fail to completely understand. Those who manipulate us understand the psychology of humanity very well. We've built an entire economy on that emotional response of like and dislike. If you watch commercials on TV, you know that what they're selling you is not the product. They're selling you a feeling. Because every toothpaste is exactly almost as every other toothpaste. But they're selling you an image of you being having such a great life, looking beautiful, and that can only happen if you buy my toothpaste. And it's true with everything. So what I'm trying to say in kind of funny but not funny way is that we are never really with what is, and therefore we're never really free. We are always at the mercy of that little voice inside that likes or dislikes. And the reason why, paradoxically, is that all of us want to be happy and avoid being miserable. And that is that impulse of wanting to be happy and avoiding being miserable that actually makes us, in fact, more miserable. And on this 4th of July weekend, I would venture to say that this notion that is written in the founding documents of our country about that relentless pursuit of happiness actually may be the foundation of why we are so miserable. Because I don't think that's the right thing to pursue in life. And maybe we need to look at changing the text a little bit. So this is where we live. We live in the mind's interpretation of reality. This is where you and I live, in the mind's interpretation of reality. We live caught in that dichotomy of craving and aversion, likes and dislikes. And so we're never with what is. We're never with reality itself. We're never free. Now, practicing being with what is helps us break the cycle. And I'm going to offer you a practice. I'm going to offer you a 3-step practice that will hopefully help us break free from the little voice in our heads. And that practice will take time and dedication, but if you really want to be free, I would invite you to do it. First, don't believe anything your thoughts say. Don't believe anything your thoughts are saying. Nothing, none of them. Something is happening, watch the story that the mind is making up. Watch the immediate evaluating, the judging, the comparing. Watch it. Look at it happening live, in the moment. And break the cycle. Stop it. Stop it right there. Just observe. Don't react. You're not that story. Don't believe what the mind is saying. Take those thoughts apart. Are they really true? Are those thoughts actually really true? Are they absolutely true? Are they expressing actually a craving, or are they expressing an aversion? Can I be free from that? What is the conditioning that they are tapping into to urge me to act or react a certain kind of way? Inquire, ask yourself, and don't believe anything you think. Step 2, practice what in Jewish meditation practice we call hishtavut, which means equanimity. Practice equanimity. Do not react to the emotions. Do not react to the sensations, the desires that are arising in the moment. Let them come and let them go, because they come and they go. They don't stay. They are not fixed. Just be with what is. From that place of pure equanimity. Oh, here it is. Emotions are here. Sensations are here. Thoughts are here. I don't deny reality. In fact, I embrace reality. I'm just not reactive to reality. I am not my emotions. Just like I am not my thoughts, I am also not my emotions. I am not my desires. I can observe my desires, but I am not collapsed. I'm not enslaved to them. I did this exercise with members of my community some time ago, where I asked them to practice not scratching an itch for 7 days, for an entire week. Just to watch the sensations come and watch them disappear. You'll be amazed. Try it. It's a great practice. Maybe not for 7 days. Try it for a day. Try it just like until the end of today. Just try it. And see, feel into the reaction of the body that really, really wants to scratch that itch. Because you're going to die if you don't. Just watch what the mind does. Third step, practice love and compassion. It might sound very trite, but it's true. This human condition is universal. All of us act and react in those kinds of ways. We're all collapsed in our own conditioned minds. We're all enslaved. We're all seeking the pleasant and avoiding the unpleasant. We're all reacting in ways that are hurtful to ourselves and to others. All of us. So give yourself a break. Give them, those others, also a break. Even when they act in hurtful ways, you understand, because you understand your own conditioning, their conditioning. And so that allows you to be compassionate toward them. They're suffering from the same enslavement you are suffering. And so be loving towards yourself and be loving towards others. And practicing these 3 steps, we come to realize how tied up in knots all of us are. How enslaved to forces we actually have no control over we are. We are not free until we begin this process of realizing how much we're not free. And if we want it enough, if freedom from this suffering is really what we want, then these simple but very difficult 3 steps that I highlighted for you can get us there. Amen.